My name is Kiki Hammonds. I'm one of our National Curriculum Specialists, and we are going to jump into K-8 Inspire Science. So hopefully you all have already received your materials or they are on the way if you don't have them yet. These are the beautiful covers of our K-5 Inspire Science program. You'll see the yellow is kindergarten, red, blue, orange, all the way through 5th grade. And then 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, you also have your beautiful covers of the Inspire Science programs. We're going to talk about the organization, the resources you'll have, all the things that you and your students will have in print, and then also we'll take a look at the digital resources. I'm going to share this screen. If you're able to snap a picture of this, or if you can screenshot this screen, this is our demo code or our sample code that allows you to go online if you don't yet have your own account. So you'll notice the my.mheducation.com is the website, and then K2, 3, 5, and 6, 8, you each have a different individual login. Hopefully you already have your login and your digital access through your school, but if not, you can use this account for now as you get logged in to look at the digital resources. So I'll give you a second to grab a picture of that if you don't yet have access online. All right, and we'll come back to this again if you need to. And of course, we can even send this out to you a little bit later as well. So again, welcome to Inspire Science. We're so happy you're here. This program is actually 100% print and 100% digital. And you'll notice on my screen, if you are a print forward classroom, if you would prefer print materials only, that's you there on the left side of the screen. Everything is available to you in print, but also on the right side of the screen, we have a fully digital program. Some of you, most of you might sit somewhere in the middle where you like to have books, but you also want to have access digitally. And so you'll see access in both ways for a hybrid as well. The overview of Inspire Science. We want to get started with an overview and the big picture, if you will, of this program, starting with the structure of the resources. Your students are going to see 4 student editions. These are unitized, units 1, 2, 3, and 4. You'll see that these are consumable resources, as you see on the left side of the screen, and your students will also have access digitally. Now, the students have access to their student editions right up front on the dashboard, as you see there. So once they log in, they'll have access. And then teachers will also have the unitized teacher edition, 4 unitized editions, units 1, 2, 3, 4. And then teachers will also have access to the resources digitally. This program is divided up beginning with units, then it moves into modules, and then moves into lessons. And so we'll talk about this and how the structure of the program looks, but generally this is what you'll find at each grade level. We begin with a module, such as energy and motion. You begin with a module opener question, such as what is energy? Your students will see lessons 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 lessons, and these follow that 5E model. And then at the end of the module, you'll see a module project, as well as a module wrap-up, which includes the module assessment. So these pieces are optional. Your school, your district will decide for you, of course, if you're using those resources. But again, you'll open with the module opener, work through the lessons, and close the module with a project and an assessment. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you to grab your teacher's edition if you're able to do so. Go ahead and grab that. If you don't have access to that, no worries. You can just follow along. I'm going to show you screenshots of the pages. But if you have your teacher's edition, go ahead and open up with me to the table of contents. And you'll notice that at the unit level, the top of the page is going to be green. As we switch to the module level, it will be orange. And as we switch to the lesson level, you'll see there is a blue trim at the top. And so that helps you keep track of everything within the program. But we're going to start first with that table of contents. I just wanted you to see the unit title, the module, and then the lessons within. If you have access to your teacher's edition, go ahead and locate this page that says Module Overview. It doesn't matter which grade level, it doesn't matter which module, just choose a module overview. Let me blow this up just a little bit. And you'll see that this is the first page. This identifies the beginning of the module. So I'll give you just a second to locate that page, and if not, you can just follow with me. But you'll notice Inspire Science is designed in a three-dimensional learning format. As you see on the left side of the screen, we have the science and engineering practices, which is what scientists do, such as ask questions, research, construct explanations. You'll notice the orange piece is your disciplinary core ideas. That is what scientists know. That's going to be the content standards, the things that your grade level will be learning, such as definitions of energy, conservation of energy. And finally, the cross-cutting concepts, that's the way that scientists think. So these are going to be those big ideas centered around the science concepts, such as energy and matter, living organisms, cause and effect. And you'll notice all three of those pieces are braided or roped together to help create your performance expectations. Now, the performance expectations, this is what students should be able to do to show mastery of those concepts. And you'll find this at the module level, you'll find this at the lesson level, but it helps us keep track of what our students are learning and what they're doing as they behave as scientists do. Go ahead and turn a page and you'll see your module planner. This is where you can find the pacing of the program, as well as the objectives, the inquiry activities, the module opener. So you'll take just a second to look at that module planner. It even locates the assessments for this module, giving you an idea of how much time you'll need, the resources that you'll use, and the lessons within the module. Turning one more page, you'll see the activities, the inquiry activities for this module. These are those hands-on explorations, hands-on activities. And as I blow this up a little bit, notice that the time frame is highlighted as well as the resources that you'll need. So this will help you plan which of these activities you'll be able to do with your students. Again, it lists the purpose, it lists the time frame, as well as the resources that you'll need. Looks like there's a couple of hands raised. If you have a question, please put that in the Q&A box, and Suresh will be able to answer those or at least highlight those for you. Continuing to turn in your teacher's edition, you'll notice the differentiation page there on the left, calling out some activities for your approaching level, on level, and beyond level students. And on the right side of that page, we do have our English language learner support. All right, I'm going to pause for just a second and give you a chance to ask any questions you might have as we move into the module level. If you'll locate the Q&A area on your dashboard, that's where you can submit your questions and we will work on answering those.
I don't see anything so far.
Okay. So as we move into the module level, you're going to find that there is a module pretest beginning at grade 2 through grade 8. If you choose to use the module pretest, it is available to you in print as well as available digitally. So again, grades 2 through 8, you'll have a module pretest as you begin the module. And as you turn the page with me in the teacher's edition, you'll notice that module opener. Now in the module opener, your students are going to encounter a phenomenon. And in this case, it lists for you that phenomenon question: where do roller coasters get the energy to go up and down hills and through loops? So the module opener page also shares with you exactly what students will see in their resource. Notice I've circled that on the screen. You'll see the student pages, and below you'll see all of the digital resources you'll have access to online if you choose to use those. On either side of the page, you'll find some teacher information, you'll find science background, And again, the online resources include STEM connections, a module pretest, as I mentioned, interactive presentations, your storylines, additional resources you might choose to use as you open the module. Now, one of the most fun things that you have at the beginning of the module is a module interactive presentation video. Let's take a look. These are silent videos allowing students to watch the phenomenon in question. Again, they're designed to be silent so your students can observe, and this helps that question come to life. Where do roller coasters get the energy to go through hills and loops? Also in the module, we introduce your students to a project. Kindergarten and first grade, this will come at the end of your module. So in the students edition, you'll notice on my screen that's a page from the student edition. This will be found at the end of the module for K and 1. In grades 2 through 8, your project will be located at the beginning of your module. So this is a page from the student edition. You'll see that after lesson 1, your students will work on their project. Coming back after lesson 2, after lesson 3, and finally at the end of the module, they'll share out their project. In this case, the students are designing a roller coaster. So they're going to be working with their classmates to design the roller coaster. There are rubrics and all sorts of directives for your students. And at the end of the module, they'll share this out with their classmates. So again, the project is located in the student edition and also located online. And so we're going to go online in just a second, and I'll show you where all of the module resources are located. And as we go online, what you're going to notice, there is a file cabinet of sorts. And online, you're going to see all of the files or blades for the module resources. So this is a picture of that. Let me go live onto the dashboard so that you can see what that looks like. If you're able to log in, when you're able to log in, you'll see on my screen, this is third grade. It doesn't matter which grade level we're looking at, but this is going to be the dashboard for the teacher. Now notice that your teacher's editions are sitting right in the middle of the screen. Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can choose to just open up the teacher's edition by clicking that. It opens up to a PDF version of the teacher's edition pages, and you can turn the pages just as you would in your print resource. But also on the dashboard, there are additional resources I want to call out. On the left side of the screen, you have a tab that says Browse this course. And this is going to be the most important button that you use. So as you choose Browse this course, it's going to bring you to a table of contents on the left side of all the modules for your grade level. Once you've chosen a module, so if we want to choose, for example, Force and Motion, and we open into that module, it brings us to the file cabinet that I mentioned just a minute ago. Notice on the left side of my screen, or in the center of my screen, this is a file cabinet of sorts that has all the materials for the module, the planning resources, the module opener, the project, the wrap-up, the assessment. And as you open into these files, you'll notice all the file folders of the things you might choose to use. So the planning resources, here's my module opener. Here's a video that I can share with students. I can even assign this to students from this dashboard. It allows me to assign it to their online access. Here is my module pretest. As you continue down the file cabinet, you'll notice the wrap-up, the assessment, the module assessment there, and even a module library that includes additional materials and resources. You'll see additional videos, STEM connections. We have some leveled readers, investigator magazines. So as you look at the module resources, notice not only the planning and the opener, but be sure that you take note of the module library because that's where additional resources are found. So again, from your dashboard, you're going to choose Browse this course, which is the most important tab you have. Once you choose that, it allows you to choose from the table of contents into a module. Clicking into the module brings you straight to those materials. Okay, we are going to move from the module level into the lesson level. Looks like there's a couple questions. How many activities should we plan for one chapter? Each unit has the 1 to 2 modules, and inside the module, there are lessons. So it depends on how many are there. These are national standards, so it's not standards of a specific country. Tamaz asked if these modules are designed according to international standards or if they're adapted to the standards of a specific country. So I think Sarisha's answering that as well. All right, so let's move from the module level into the lesson level. As you move from a module into a lesson, we follow the 5E lesson model. And this is something I know you're familiar with, starting at engage, to explore, explain, elaborate, evaluate. The 5 E's of instruction you'll find in the teacher's edition and the student edition. And as we engage in the 5E lesson model, the very first thing that happens is we want to assess prior knowledge of our students. We want to find out what they already know coming into that science lesson. And so in your teacher's edition, you'll see a page that looks just like this on the right side of my screen there. Notice it says Paige Keeley Science Probe, and this is the way that we assess prior knowledge. Every single lesson, every grade level has an opportunity for students and teachers to assess prior knowledge. We use the probe to assess the prior knowledge of the content of this module. Now the the probe works with all sorts of strategies, but it allows the teacher to find out what students already know about the content of the lesson. Now, this prior knowledge probe is going to be found in the Students Edition, but it's also available online. So let's look at this one, for example. And the students are going to be taking a look at the probe at the beginning of the lesson, and then also we're going to take a look at it a little bit later as well. You're going to revisit the probe again later in the lesson. It's purposely woven into the instruction continuously to help students become more visible in their thinking, to help students realize if their thinking might be changing as they're learning more about the content. This one says 3 friends were playing with their toy cars. Betty crashed her car into Alonzo's car. They each had different ideas about what was transferred during the crash. This is what they said. Betty said, I think the force from my car was transferred to your car. Alonzo says, I think the energy from your car was transferred to my car. And Gus says, I think both force and energy from Betty's car were transferred to Alonzo's car. So we asked students, whom do you agree with and why? This can be done online. This can be done in their student edition. Perhaps you come together as a class and ask questions and everyone shares their thoughts. You can have students take a vote maybe on a bar graph or even write about this in their science notebooks. So at the beginning of the lesson, we focus on the probe. We find out what students know. There is additional teacher support available for you online, focused on different strategies, focused on different ways to use this information. And then it's time to move in to the lesson model. Now online, you'll see another filing cabinet just for lesson materials. And notice there is an area just for the science probe. So when we go online in just a second, you'll notice that. But this gives you an opportunity to pull that up on your screen or to print off anything you'd like. And it gives you, as the teacher, information about using the science probe. Go ahead and turn a couple pages with me, and you'll find the lesson planning, lesson pacing page. I'll give you a second to locate that. Depending on how much time you have in your classrooms for science, you're going to find different tracks or different pacing suggestions. You'll notice the full track, Flex Track A or Flex Track B. Each of these has a different time frame depending on how much time you have in your class. You'll notice the full track is 45 minutes per day, 5 days a week. The Flex Track A is 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. And we have a Flex Track B, 30 minutes a day for 3 days a week. So if one of these works for you, you can choose one of those pacing options. And also, there is a different pacing option called our Essential Lesson Planning Guide. This is a 60-minute per week or excuse me, opportunity for students. And it allows you to have different time frames on different days for a total of 60 minutes at the end of the week. So several different ways to organize. If you choose the Essential Lesson Planning Guide, I'll show you where this is. It's located online. But this is a planning page that has already been created for you. You can print this right off and use this for your planning. So again, you have several different pacing options. So talk with your school, with your teaching team about which of those you're going to be using. As we move into the parts of the lesson, the very first thing you'll notice is the engage part of the lesson. Go ahead and turn with me in your teacher's edition if you're able to, and you'll notice at the top of the page, it says we are in the engage part of the lesson. You'll notice the student pages in the middle, the digital resources at the bottom, the information on either side for teachers. But as students look in their resource, they'll actually see that full page spread asking a question. In this case, why are some of the skydivers falling faster than others? Just as we saw in the module level, the students will have an encounter the phenomenon question and also a video. Now remember, these are silent videos allowing students to observe the phenomenon. This can be assigned to students' dashboards. This is something you can share in class. And all of the resources are going to be located for you online in the Engage file of this filing cabinet. So when we go online in just a second, you'll notice there is a filing cabinet just for the lesson. There is a tab for the science probe, and there is also a file or a tab for the Engage part of the lesson. If you have a question, please put that in the Q&A area on your dashboard, and we'll answer that for you. Moving into the Explore part of the lesson. This is where your students are going to have hands-on activities if you choose to use those. Go ahead and turn with me in your teacher's edition or just look with me at the screen. You'll notice that this is the Explore part of the lesson. These pages for students are always going to be yellow. The hands-on activities are always going to be yellow. So in your students' resource, they'll see the activity, the materials, the directions for carrying out the investigation, opportunities to write and collaborate and talk to their classmates just like scientists do, and even opportunities to go online. This activity has students dropping a golf ball and a table tennis ball from the same height to see which one would fall more quickly, depending on the weight of the object. We'll find online additional videos for support for these online activities. There is an inquiry teacher preview that allows the teachers to watch the activity prior to assigning that. And there is also an inquiry rewind that allows the students to see the activities. You have two different support videos for most of the activities. These can be assigned to students. They can be used for substitute teachers or perhaps students who are absent on the day of an activity. But you do have support videos for those hands-on activities. You'll also notice in the Explore area, the claim, evidence, and reasoning. This helps our students work through investigations and acquire the skills to stake a claim, learn how to add evidence, and provide reasoning, which of course is known as CER. This strategy is used to teach students how to construct and craft scientific arguments. It's also a great support to support students in their explorations. So we encourage students to make a claim. What do you think is going to happen? Offer the evidence as to why they think that's going to happen. And then finally, once the activity has taken place, provide the reasoning for why or why not these claims happened in their investigations. Right. Grades 6 through 8, you're going to see additional virtual labs. These will be available to you online, of course, and they'll be called out in your teacher's edition, but you can locate those to support learning, to investigate new concepts. Some of the things that might be too dangerous or too difficult to manage in class, you'll find virtual labs. There are digital simulations. Students can actively investigate concepts without actually using the resources hands-on, but it is something that they can watch and engage with virtually. Grades 6 through 8, you're going to roughly have 74 labs available for you with additional multimedia available at all grade levels. You'll see that there are those virtual labs, there are activities for students to watch, there are things for students to listen to, songs and dances, all sorts of multimedia pieces. And all of this is located for you in the Explore Blade online. Now, the Teacher's Edition online is a PDF. It is a static resource. It is not clickable. You're not going to locate the videos or the resources from there. The resources are available to you in the filing cabinet. So I'm going to show you exactly where that is in just a second. But your Teacher's Edition, of course, is where you'll locate the reference and the information, but the actual resources themselves are going to live in this filing cabinet online. All right, as we move to the next level or the next phase of the lesson, we are moving into the explain phase. So if you'll go ahead and turn a page with me, you'll see that this is where students are going to be reading, learning, listening, beginning to explain more about the concept. This is a page from your student edition calling out the vocabulary. Notice the vocabulary is highlighted. They deepen their understanding of core science topics and the lesson phenomenon. The vocabulary words are listed in blue, they're highlighted in yellow, and this helps to teach that vocabulary in context throughout the lesson. The student edition has audio support if you would prefer students to be listening to their content from the student edition. You'll find opportunities for close reading where students will inspect, find evidence, make connections. And again, we offer digital simulations. There's a series of PhET simulations available for you. In this area of the lesson, students will also find foldables. Perhaps you're familiar with Dynazyke and foldables. These are offered in two ways. You'll have some built right into the student book that can be cut and glued into their science notebooks if you use that. And then additional foldables are available to you online. These graphic organizers were created exclusively for Inspire Science. They have anchor tabs, which allow you to glue them right into a notebook, and you can use these individually, and these are available for K-5. You'll find vocabulary photo cards. There are photo cards online, and in some grade levels in the student edition as well. If you choose to use interactive notebooks, you can create your own notebooks using the foldables. There are videos to help students see exactly how to use the flip books and the resources within the foldables. And finally, at K-5, we have additional literacy integration resources. K-1, you'll see a science read aloud. This is a paired fiction and nonfiction selection focused on science content. Grades 2 through 5, you'll see investigator articles. They're on the right side of the screen. Those are going to be high interest articles, bringing in more content knowledge in each module. And finally, at K-5, differentiated leveled readers. These are available in print as well as digital. You can assign these to students on their dashboard, or students can read in print. Now in grades 6 through 8, we have something called Reading Essentials. Notice on the left side of my screen, this is the on grade level reading, but the Reading Essentials allows students to see that reading up to 2 grade levels lower. So it does bring that Lexile down, allowing our 6th through 8th grade students an opportunity for an alternative version of the student edition. It's scaffolded for content retention, but it is the same content, just a lower Lexile of content. These are all available to your students online, calls out the vocabulary, and these are available grades 6, 7, and 8. So at 6th through 8th grade, you will find the reading essentials available in that explain phase under the study tools. So all of those resources that are part of the explain phase of the lesson will be sitting within the explain filing cabinet online. As we move into the next phase of the lesson, we're moving into the elaborate phase. This is where we want students to dream big, but we want to show them how the science they're learning is being used and how they can become the next generation of innovators. We want our students to know that they are scientists. They think like scientists do. There are all sorts of connections to the science world and everything they do daily. And we do this through STEM connections. You'll find STEM connections in the elaborate phase. What does a robotic engineer do? What does an automotive technician do? Students are going to read about real-world application focused on careers and hobbies, things that use science content. This is where that Investigator magazine comes in, as well as the additional reading pieces. You might even find an additional hands-on activity, and all of these resources are located online within the elaborate phase. And the final phase of the lesson is evaluate. The evaluate phase is where we have a lesson review to evaluate students' progress. As you turn in the teacher's edition, you'll notice the evaluate phase is listed as the lesson review. In the student's edition, they'll see the opportunity to summarize, to focus on three-dimensional thinking, and it also reminds students that now they can explain the phenomenon. Remember at the beginning, they evaluated or encountered the phenomenon, but in the evaluate phase, we're going to explain the phenomenon. This is also where students are going to revisit the Page-Keeley probe. We bring them back, we ask that question again. We go back to the science probe to decide whether or not we want to change our answers or justify our responses. We ask students if their thinking has changed, and we offer the correct answer. So the Page-Keeley probe is introduced at the beginning of the lesson and then also seen and revisited at the end of the lesson. So if this were the answers that students had given in the early thinking part of the lesson, and then a few weeks later, perhaps they've changed their answers. Now, also in the evaluate phase is where you'll find the opportunity for a lesson check. You'll notice we can go online to locate a lesson check as well as a vocabulary check. If you choose to use the lesson review, it is available to you in print as well as available digitally. Grades 6 through 8, you're going to see something called Learn Smart. This is going to be a diagnostic study tool, a diagnostic assessment. It adapts to student performance. It improves student outcomes. It allows students to read and ask questions, answer questions throughout the chapters and units. This on the screen, it has the content, it allows them to read, to interact with questions, and this is located at grades 6 through 8 in the module library. So Learn Smart is an opportunity of a study tool, a diagnostic assessment, helping students to dig a little bit deeper into that student reading. And again, all the lesson resources located in that filing cabinet online. So here's an overall view of the module, the pretest, the project, Moving into the lessons, the Page-Keeley probes, the 5E model, and finally the close of the lesson, where students are going to revisit that phenomenon, complete their project, and there is a module assessment. Now, before we talk about assessment, I do want to jump online and help you locate the lesson materials. Again, from your dashboard, this is the main screen for teachers. You see those teachers' editions. You see additional resources here on the right side of the screen. There's that essential lesson planning guide. But remember, the most important tab on your screen is to browse this course. So once you choose to browse this course and it brings you to your table of contents, we've already looked at the module. This time we're going to click into a lesson. This will bring us to the lesson filing cabinet. You'll notice the probe, the 5 E's of instruction, your lesson library, and as we open each one of these files, you'll see the resources inside. So here is the science probe, moving into the engage phase. You'll notice that video. It can be assigned to students. Moving into the explore phase, here are those inquiry activity support videos. Explain is where students are reading and engaging with vocabulary. The evaluate phase is where you'll find that lesson review as well as your lesson checks. Don't forget to look at the lesson library where you'll find additional videos, additional simulations. Here's a PhET simulation, some editable activities for hands-on engagement. And again, the lesson level filing cabinet was located from Browse This Course. Let me go back one more time. This is your dashboard. Here on the left side of the screen, you have the tab that says Browse This Course. It brings me to my module as well as the lessons. When I open and choose a lesson, I receive that file cabinet for the lesson. All right. I'm going to pause for just a second before we move into assessment. Any questions, any comments? Sharice, anything that we can answer?
I can see one question there, which I think you covered already. And can we download the materials and the videos? Very FAQ question, by the way.
Yeah, it is. There are some that can be downloaded, and let me show you how you'll know. When you're looking at the resource, if it has a download tab next to it, that is an item that can be downloaded. Otherwise, it can only be assigned to the students. So if it does not have a download opportunity next to that, that means it's not a downloadable resource. So that's how teachers will know.
That's a great tip, and we often forget that.
Yeah.
Aya has a
Yeah,
question. One more,
okay.
sorry. For
Yeah,
me
no
as a
worries.
teacher, how can I access the videos attached to the lesson in the hard copy? I usually scan it, but I can't access. Thanks in advance.
Yeah. So the hard copy is going to be just the hard copy. It's going to be the PDF version, or if you have the teacher's edition. To locate those materials, the interactive materials, you'll have to come onto the online dashboard, as I mentioned, go into Browse This Course. If you choose the teacher's edition, that's just going to be the PDF or the ebook. So you won't be able to locate the interactive resources. We have to actually go into Browse This Course, which is your table of contents, if you will, choosing the file cabinet for the module or the lesson. Once you've chosen that, it allows you to go inside these files and locate the interactive resources. So for example, if I go into the Engage file, here is that video for the Engage. It can be assigned to students, or it can just be demonstrated or shown to my students right here on the screen. So again, it's not located from the hard copy. It is something that you go into that online file cabinet to be able to locate.
Thank you so much. I felt
You're
there were
welcome.
other people who could benefit from this question because it's something I
Absolutely.
have heard many times from the teacher.
Correct, yes. All
Okay.
right, let's move on. And if we have additional questions, we'll answer those at the end. I do want to share the assessment opportunities. In Inspire Science, you're going to see diagnostic, formative, and summative assessments. Let me put all these up for you on the screen. We've talked through most of these, the pre-tests, the probes, the lesson checks, their vocabulary checks. You won't use all of these every day, every time, every student, but you do have lots of different opportunities for assessment. And finally, there is something called a three-dimensional assessment guide, and I'll show you that as well. All of your assessments are available to you to be printed, as you see on the left side of the screen. And also, these can be accessed digitally. You can assign these to students. You can pull these up on your own boards in your classroom. All of the assessments are editable. They're able to be changed or modified in any way. You can even make your own assessments if you'd like. You're going to see that performance task, the module project, also has rubrics available for teachers and for students. Again, here is an additional example of an online assessment, the drag and drop style question. If your students take the assessments digitally, those will be graded for you within the platform, and you can create reports using the data from those assessments. There are class reports, student reports, and also performance by the standards. And so you'll see that available as well. Our tech support team will be happy to help with that if that's a question that you have. But I want to show you where those assessments are located. One more time, I'm going to put this up on the screen just to remind you, pre-K to 2, 3 to 5, as well as 6 through 8. You have digital access. But I want to help you locate the assessments on your screen. When you're at the dashboard here on the screen, on the left side of my screen, you'll notice a submenu. And almost at the very bottom, you're going to see a tab that says Assessments. When you choose the Assessment tab, it will bring you to all of the assessments that you have for your grade level. These are the modules. So for example, you'll notice I have a module entitled Animals. If I choose that module, it demonstrates all of the assessments that are already available. Here's the pre-test, the lesson check, the module test. And I can click right into this assessment to see that. If I want to take note of the questions, it shows me how many points, how many questions. Each question shows the question type as well as the depth of knowledge, even the standards that are going to be within this question. As you scroll down, you can see each and every question there. But notice on the right side of the screen, I can edit the question, I can remove the question, or I can even move it around a bit if I'd like. So you can make those choices right from the screen. So one more time, once you've chosen that module, it opens and shows you all of the different types of assessments there. And finally, out to the right-hand side, you'll see an opportunity to preview the assessment, edit, assign, or even print. So this is found on the assessment library, which is here on the left side of your dashboard. One more time, from the dashboard, at the bottom of that menu, you'll see there is an assessment library. Here are all the assessments that you have available, and you can choose the module and locate that assessment. The last thing I want to demonstrate is you also have the opportunity to take a look at your students' accounts. When you go into your roster, it allows you to emulate the student. And you can actually see the student account. So in this case, here is the student I have. They do not have any assignments yet available, but notice they have their student additions, They can see information from the lessons. And once I've made an assignment, that will be located in that to-do area for my students. Right. I want to encourage you to join our teacher community. You can locate this online as well. This is a community of Inspire Science teachers all over the world sharing ideas, sharing resources. There are discussion boards. So again, from the dashboard on your additional resources, you can locate that community. And I'll show you where that's located. Here on the dashboard, on the right side of the screen where it says additional resources, that Inspire Science teacher community is located right here. Right. Any questions with our last few minutes together?
I can see a couple of questions in the Q&A box.
Okay, let me pull those up. Are there teacher PowerPoints? There are presentations. You can create presentations using the resources that are available. And I'll show you where those are. When we go into a lesson, let me choose this lesson again. You'll notice at the top of the screen, there is a presentation or a present tab. This is where you can put different resources into a presentation mode to share with students or to share with your class or just to hold for yourself in terms of keeping track of the resources. But when you choose that present tab, it brings you to the presentation. This has been created by our authorship team, but you can edit and make changes to this as you choose. So you'll notice from the presentation tab, there is an opportunity to edit that, and it allows you to choose any of the resources within the lesson and add those to your presentation. So that's the opportunity that we do have there for the presentations. You'll notice all of the resources that are located in that lesson, and you can choose to add them or take them out of the presentation by toggling the button under each of the activities. I believe this recording is going to be sent out.
Yes.
Okay, that was the question as well. All right, any other questions or comments?
I think, how did you get into the lesson? The just said, sorry, I just joined in late. How do I get to explore it?
Okay. Let me share that online code one more time. Hold on just a second. There we go. This is the opportunity you would have.
I think we're stuck, at least on my end. We're right here. Kiki, sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. So once you've logged in, you'll have access to your grade level materials from that demo code. And one more time, here are the codes to allow you access if you do not have your own account.
Any more questions for Kiki? We're towards the end of the session now and want to be respectful of your time as well. I can see lots of thank you. That was a fantastic session. Thank you so much, Kiki. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, looks like you seem to have answered all the questions. Any
Let
questions,
us know.
guys?
You can email me if you have any questions, Teresa, if anything else comes up. But thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to Inspire Science. Happy school year. I know you're going to love using this program.
Yes, absolutely. All the best and take care of yourself. Oh, I have a question, Jumai. All this is for free or there's a payment? Oh, you probably joined a webinar. This is a program for teachers who are using Inspire Science, so you will need to get the program, and then this is how we are showing teachers how you can learn. If you have any additional questions, I'm happy to take it offline, share demo access, or connect you with the rep. I can type the email address below and you can get in touch if you are interested or if you like anything about the program. But yes, you will definitely need to purchase the program before starting to use it. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great school year. Can you please share the recording? Yes, we will share the recording with you, hopefully by the end of the week, along with your certificate. Thank you once again, Kiki. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.